Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to Nerd Fight! The ultimate showdown where geek culture collides with unfiltered opinions and passionate debates. I'm your host, Mr. Know-It-All, bringing you the latest and greatest from the world of movies, TV shows, and all things nerdy. But hold on to your warp cores because the real captain of this starship is none other than Salty Trekker. So strap in because it's going to be a wild ride. Lower Decks Episode 5, full episode review. Our MCU series ranked Part 2, and we take your questions with Open Mic Saturday. That means only one thing. It's time to fight. Nerd Fights. Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Nerd Fights. I am, of course, Mr. Know-It-All, your ever so happy host. And joining me, as always, is the man, Salty Trekker. What's up, brother?
I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's going on?
So, listening to your introduction, which brilliantly done, by the way, but
Thank you.
What happens if you have a collision between filtered opinions in geek culture as opposed to unfiltered opinions?
It's a very good question. I don't know that I have an answer.
Yeah, I just want to know. You know, if the opinion is
like
some people like myself, I prefer filtered water.
Is that what you prefer?
Or filtered opinions?
I got it. That makes sense.
I'm just throwing that out there.
That's fair.
So how are you doing this week?
I'm good. I'm real good. What's new? What's new with you, sir?
Well, you know, we're crawling through the Lower Decks. I'm Lower Decks being the only show airing right now, which is kind of weird. After we had this glut for a little while with Agatha, Penguin, and Lower Decks.
Yeah, everything. Right.
But enjoying it. Went and saw Red 1 yesterday with the wife.
Okay. Not expecting that. So you're good. We're good. You need to give me I need that review. Okay. Real quick. Tell me about it.
Red 1.
If you haven't seen Red 1, we're going to spoil it. So everybody can understand that. Go on, sir.
So Red 1 is a modern holiday film. It is definitely a Christmas movie. Unlike Violent Night, which I love Violent Night, by the way, but unlike Violent Night, it actually takes the idea of Christmas spirit and everything a little more seriously.
Okay.
You know, like they don't portray it as, you know, like you don't see Santa Claus peeing off his sled. You know, there's nothing nothing that crass.
No, I got you.
Santa Claus is truly good to the core. But it also incorporates other classic Christmas mythologies from around the world, like Krampus.
Okay, right on.
Because Krampus is kind of a evil version of Santa Claus from like some Nordic areas. And what's interesting is they actually do explain in the movie why Krampus is in Nordic areas.
Really?
Yes. They explain a lot more about Krampus than you would think, but and Krampus's relationship with Santa, and that for all you flat earthers out there, you'll like this, that there is a worldwide conspiracy among every governmental leader on the planet to keep Santa secure but also secret.
Got it.
So nobody knows where Santa's compound is, even though everybody knows it's at the North Pole.
It has a compound. Okay.
You know, they call it the North Pole compound. But
makes sense.
Yes, it's hidden by a Wakanda-esque shield. So you can't see it from a distance.
Okay, I got you.
And so the Santa and his elves are busy, you know, getting the toys ready for everybody.
Sure.
But also there's a worldwide network. There's all this stuff. They add all these layers to the lore, which is actually really interesting.
Okay.
Every toy.
I'm fascinated only because everybody online is hating this movie.
Yeah, and I don't understand why. It's a fun movie.
I have not seen it. So and you made me. I told Mrs. Know-It-All. I said, if we're not busy tomorrow after church, I want to go see it.
Yeah.
Because because I do trust your opinion on things, because I feel like we are very simpatico in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I may see something different than you, but ultimately I think we overall like the same stuff. And so I told her, I said, we need to go check this out. So please forgive me for interrupting. Continue. I'm just shocked because everyone's hating it.
Well, like one of the things they add to the lore is every toy store in the world is connected. And so if you go to the
Okay.
back, if you go to the back of any toy store, and you have a special key, you can open the janitor's closet, and it's actually a portal to every other toy store in the world. That's how they get all around the world, and that's also how Santa gets his toys.
Copy.
Okay, so every toy store is a part of this network. Every government is in on this,
Yeah.
and Santa's sleigh looks like something out of like it looks like a pod racer from Star Wars. It's like not only that,
I don't really think we ever saw it closely in the trailers, so I didn't know that. That's funny.
well,
Go on.
and there's actually they show at the end like Santa actually doing his deliveries and how the logistics of it works. So like the sleigh is being followed like by this behemoth like airship. And the airship is almost like imagine, you know how like jet fighters will have refueling tankers in the area and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So the airship drops new sacks into Santa's sleigh
As one does.
as he runs out of toys because obviously his sleigh can't carry the billions of toys necessary. And so instead, he has this big airship that keeps dropping new containers full of toys for him as he reloads his magic sack and he jumps into the houses and delivers toys to all the.
I feel like that tracks like a lot.
It actually it's really fun. Chris Evans absolutely is a joy to. It's like kind of like remember the end scene from Deadpool when Chris Evans, you find out that he really was the jerk that Deadpool made him out to be.
Yes.
So imagine that character, but a PG-13 version of it. That's Chris Evans in this movie. He is an absolute douchebag. But that's kind of the point of the story is he finds his Christmas spirit.
Okay.
And so he is actually he inadvertently. So here comes a couple of spoilers.
Okay, go ahead.
He is the reason Santa Claus gets kidnapped.
Really?
Yes, because Chris is like this renowned computer, like he can. Computer nerd that can track anything. Like, you know, he'll get your credit card numbers, he'll find out everything about you, he'll figure out where you are. And that's what he does for a living. He basically works for anybody who'll pay him to track people down.
Okay.
And he does it digitally. Well, these people hire him to break into a seismic observatory in order to find certain seismic anomalies which lead them to Santa's workshop.
Wow.
And so that's how they kidnapped Santa. He had no idea because he doesn't believe Santa exists.
You're hilarious. So what do you think he was doing?
He just thought he was trying to find some covert weapons test.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And so
I kind of love everything about that right now.
yes. And then, but then he finds out that and so then they the Santa's Department of Enforcement, Logistics, and Fortification.
As one does.
Yeah, ELF.
I hate you so much right now for that.
Yes, they come after him and kidnap him, and then they explain to him that Red One, which is kind of like how you call the president of the United States.
Sure. Yeah, got it.
So actually, when he's in the sleigh, they refer to the sleigh as Red One.
Oh my God. Okay, go on.
So Santa Claus, they say Red One, also known to most as Saint Nicholas, has been kidnapped from his North Pole compound, and we need you to help us find the people that kidnapped him. And so Chris Evans is like, wait, so you're telling me that Santa Claus has been kidnapped, and you want me to help, so.
Ben One Eye says it sounds like a movie I would absolutely dislike. Probably if you dislike fun.
I'm sorry, it's a fun
holiday magic. I mean, if you're a general overall Grinch, then sure, I can understand not liking it.
Yeah, I believe it's PG.
Ben's like, what happened last week? You guys loved me.
Yeah. Well, last week's show was dedicated to him.
That's right. This week's
not.
Whatever.
This week's show is dedicated to Arabic. So
That's right.
But yeah, so that it's PG-13. I think that's an appropriate rating because while it's a good family friendly holiday movie for the most part, there is some swearing. Um, but nothing really harsh. They imply an F bomb, but it's cut off by situation. And there's a couple of basically minor swear words, BS,
Sure.
uncensored or unfiltered, as you would say.
That's right.
Um,
Unfiltered.
so I absolutely enjoyed the movie way more than I thought I would,
Right on.
and highly recommend it. The Rock is The Rock. I mean,
That's fair. That's totally
The
fair.
Rock is. I don't think The Rock has any acting range. He's just a presence, and he plays Santa Claus's bodyguard, which is an appropriate part for him. And so he's the one that's basically sent out to recover Santa Claus, but they need the know-how of Chris Evans' character in order to actually find him.
Right.
So and yeah, and all sorts of zany hijinks ensue.
We're all about zany hijinks. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely, it's a Saturday Nerd Fight. Saturday Nerd Fight's a little special compared to Wednesday night Nerd Fights. Saturday Nerd Fights, we're going to be reviewing stuff from the week, of course, but then we also talk about some other. We have some topics lined up, but then toward the end, it's going to be open mic. We like to do open mic Saturdays, let you guys talk and ask questions and things that we want to just back and forth about. And literally, there's no restrictions on what that is. I'm actually looking forward to hopefully see my buddy Alex show up again, as he said he was going to, and especially once I went back and tabulated all his great donations. So at that,
Yeah, that was yeah.
now I realized, Alex, we love you.
Now you said his name twice already. Don't say it a third time. He'll show
He'll
up.
show up totally. That's the best. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing is talking about. We're going to get into some. First, we're going to talk about Lower Decks. Going to get into that episode. Some fun things happened. It was a nice change of pace from some of the other stuff that's been happening during the season. And then we're going to go, of course, finishing our MCU rankings. We were the MCU streaming shows, all of those things that are canon. We stopped at She-Hulk. We're going to jump right back in, and I have the whole list ready to go.
You know what? I left one off from the posters that we got to add to it.
Which one?
The Guardians holiday special.
Oh, I know. I love that. Okay,
Yeah, so
fair enough. No, that's fair. And I think I can add that. Or I think I have that in the actual thing itself. It might be in this list of stuff here. So I will see. I had to add some of your other ones because I think the list I was using was a little outdated.
Yeah.
Like it didn't have everybody. It had all those other shows, but it didn't have. So it maybe didn't come this far. The one I picked because I wanted to do it real time. Unlike dragging it around the screen, I wanted to actually use the actual tier maker.
Right.
When we're done, I'll actually put out on social media our rankings because they'll look special then or whatever. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, people think
Whatever, man. People care. There's caring that happens. I'm kidding.
and Bradley just reminded me. So I was driving Uber the other night, and I was talking to this guy, and Halloween was recent, and he was telling me because my car has the Starfleet emblem on the side, and so he saw the Starfleet emblem, and so I was a big Star Trek fan. I said, of course, otherwise I wouldn't have a Starfleet emblem on my car.
Wow.
But he was telling me about this holiday or this Halloween party he went, and he dressed as like a red shirt, and so then his wife, she wore a silver cat suit. All right.
Got it.
All right. So completely and laughably overstuffed her bra.
Okay.
All right. Put cybernetic implants on her.
Oh my God, she was 7, wasn't she?
Wait. And put on a platinum blonde long wig. And she was 7 of 9 to 5.
Oh my God, I hate you so much. I love that. That's so brilliant. Oh, so our good buddy just logged in. Hey, Creep. I wanted to go ahead and play something for Creep, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, yes. I
Absolutely. Here you go, bud. This is for you because honestly, I think it's brilliant. Listen hard. For some reason, the volume is just from the screen, in the screen. So pay attention, but it's great. Let's go play.
Oh, that is really quiet. have like do an AI picture of Mr. Know-It-All like skipping through the beach with a bunch of KKK members. We're being chased by ghosts. The best speech I've ever heard.
He goes almost as overboard as you do when it comes to this stuff. Woo!
Yeah, I think the woos are just a bit much there.
That was awesome. Oh my god, that was so great.
I could barely hear it.
I know. I could hear it so much better on my phone. I didn't even think to fix the audio on that. That was on me. But wonderful job, Creep. For someone who was given a mission and sent on it, I really appreciate you.
So if you want to see that with the audio, go to Creep's channel.
For real.
And then you can hear all those woos at full volume.
Woo! Heck yeah, man. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Got to be all way wooing it up.
So speaking of woo, I don't know. We got some Lower Decks to talk about.
Yay, Lower Decks. There we go. Now we can talk Lower Decks. The ship is running properly, and now we can actually have a conversation.
So are we supposed to be at the consoles there?
That's kind of the idea. That's why I set it up this way. But at the same time, it's like, what are you going to do?
No,
I could always do an overlay of just the consoles in front of us.
Well, I almost feel like let's see. Are we in the right positions? Like if you were Rutherford and I was Boimler?
Yes.
Okay, because then I should be saying something to the effect of, no, man, they totally look exactly the same.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh my God, Lower Decks! What a fun episode.
It's funny because Lower Decks started kind of mid for this season.
It did.
But has been slowly ramping up,
getting better and better.
And so yes, this one is now my favorite episode of the season.
It was a good episode. I enjoyed the heck out of it. So
this one, oh man, had so many deep cuts. So many deep cuts.
It did super so.
Some that it's like, okay, I know that's a reference to something, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. But you do realize who the bad guy was, right?
Yeah.
It was the sex candle.
I hate you so much.
That was literally
the green electricity.
It was and the description they used of it, the type of being it was. Yep. That's the description they used for the sex candle.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So yes, it was the sex candle was the villain of the week.
I don't know if that's a phrase that I had on my bingo card that I was going to hear today. Sex candle, villain of the week.
Yes.
So first off, I want to know, that really make it the villain?
Well, depends if you're a dude. Sex candle doesn't sound. Well, I guess some dudes it would sound appealing, but not.
We are sex bomb. 1, 2, 3. That's what needs to happen. That's from those of you playing at home. That's from Scott Pilgrim. So,
yeah, and like when you look at the gift store in the gift store scene, there is so much stuff.
So much.
Yeah.
There was. Did you catch Kirk and Spock's hats?
From the Kelvin timeline.
No, from the action.
Well, there was the piece of the action, but there's also the Kirk and Spock Kelvin timeline hats.
Yes, I know the ones you're talking about. Yes.
And so that was.
By the way, I didn't know what those were until you just now said that. So I'm glad you said that because I saw them. I knew. I was like, what is this?
And one of my favorite things was the fact that you have the TOS yellow shirt, blue shirt, then the Discovery yellow shirt, then the Strange New Worlds yellow shirt, all on one rack.
I'm watching like this is just this, bro. That was great. I love the fact that they're all wearing. Why were they wearing the Enterprise uniforms?
It made no sense. They should have been wearing up-to-date uniforms. I mean, just because everything on the station is out of date doesn't mean that they wouldn't have current uniforms.
I don't know. It added to the effect. I know you're right. First off, I think you're right. That's one of those things. But that's one of those things where the funny was trumped everything. Like
Yes.
that was the way to go, and I get it
Well,
because
yeah,
it was
with a
hilarious.
comedy, the number one thing is it funny?
Did you notice when he was finally the chief engineer? He's wearing Scotty's vest,
Yes.
that type of vest,
Yes.
which I thought was cool. I was like, oh, but no white shirt. He should have been wearing the white shirt underneath to really sell
And
it.
you know, the fact that he was the chief engineer should be a shock to absolutely nobody. I mean,
Oh,
that was like the most telegraphed thing ever.
And especially when you catch him with his head stuck in the one pipe, and he's just like, "Can you guys fix this?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
Clearly, he's like, "Look, we've been trying to get Starfleet to come fix stuff. They ain't come for a while. We don't know if anyone's coming. Y'all got to fix this for us."
Now, this, unlike last week, this showed an A plot, B plot scenario that works
Yeah, I'll go with that.
because it felt like it was kind of organic. Yeah, the captain and Ransom kind of got separated while everybody else was just becoming mildly mentally retarded due to the sex scandal creature messing with everybody.
As will happen.
Yes. Oh yeah, the games in the arcade, yeah, cardboard chaos. That was, which a lot of people I know didn't get that, but it's because everybody would joke about how the sets in the original series were made of cardboard.
Look like cardboard. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Romulan version of Space Invaders, you know, where you had a Romulan ship at the bottom and a bunch of Enterprises pointing downward.
As one does.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was a Ferengi game too. I'm trying to remember. It was like some kind of like Ferengi cash grab type game.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Is there really? If there isn't, there should be, because that's
No,
hilarious.
there was. I can't remember what it was called though. There was
Cash grab
so much stuff in this.
All I want now is a Ferengi cash grab game while you're BSing.
Yeah,
Let's go. Oh.
you know, and not to mention the fact that the day was saved by the corn dog vendor.
Right? I'm happy. Dude, go corn dog vendor, bro. I love, especially the bro corn dog vendor at that.
Yeah, and there was a koala game.
Oh my god, so much.
There was a koala game in the arcade. I forgot about that one. That was
Which I was like, okay, I see what you guys did there. Rock on.
So, yeah, absolutely deep cut after deep cut after deep cut in this. The fact that, you know, I like that the doctor had that weird parasite that was from TNG. I can't remember what it was called.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Huh?
I think I know what you're talking about. Go on.
But the doctor had you know, where it looked like he had bolts of electricity on him.
Yeah.
On one side of his butt. That's from TNG.
Oh, right on.
Let's see.
Are you finally putting stuff on your screen?
I'm trying to find that parasite. Yeah. See if I can find anything. No, that's not. Wow, that comes up with some weird stuff.
I love that.
You gotta be careful about when you start doing searches that involve the word parasite.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That could be problematic, to say the least.
Yeah. Let's see. What was the name of this episode? Oh, Starbase 80.
Yes, Starbase 80.
Okay, so there's the doctor. But I want to. And of course, Mariner yelling, "No!" was, of course, you got to have that at least. Yeah.
It's awesome. I would have expected it last episode, to be honest, with the Klingons.
And of course, the Enterprise decon scene where you know, Ransom just got a little too into it.
Oh, bro, I love the fact that they literally said they were like, he's like, oh, I love it. Ransom's like, I love it so much. It's great.
Yeah, and then he reached into his back pocket and pulled out that gel to loosen up the. I was like, oh, what?
We get down like that, sir. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even want to know. So yeah, this episode, it was silly, it was goofy, it was lower decks.
And
Um,
it's funny. This was a wonderful, wonderful Lower Decks episode, and I was very much like, okay, this feels like what I wanted. Like, see, let's this. I almost feel like why wasn't this kind of thing the first episode? Like,
yeah.
give us a really jump in, man. Jump in,
Well,
have
especially
fun.
since this one, of course, Boimler now has a goatee.
I
Uh,
know he's got the beginnings of the bottom kind, whatever that's called, the cool
yeah.
whatever, and then the mustache, and still got. Eventually, do you think by the end of this he'll be full blown like?
He
Riker guy?
better. I'm thinking, yeah, he needs to have a full on beard by the
Like,
end.
be full Riker Boimler, whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like get there, man. Oh, I don't know. I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying it. I can't wait for the next. What's the next stuff that's coming out soon?
Well, as far as Trek is concerned, the next one is Strange New World Season 3, but that's not until the beginning of the year. We have What If coming out around Christmas time. Um, so I think What If is probably the next series.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
I want to say I don't think there's anything else Star Wars coming out this year.
Well, that's so sad.
Um, unless you want to count, that I don't know when the stupid Star Wars Brats comes out.
You talking about Skeleton Crew?
Yeah, Star
Why
Wars,
are you calling it Star Wars Brats?
because it looks horrible.
It does not.
Oh, we're gonna be doing some fighting.
It does not look horrible.
If that
Look,
show looks
it
goofy,
might turn out to be horrible, but it is not currently looking horrible. Now, does it look like anything remotely like a Star Warsy thing that we've ever had before? Absolutely not. Is that a problem? At this stage, I don't know that I think it is. At this stage, I'm like, go for anything, because what you've done lately has sucked anyway. You may as well just shoot for the stars, and maybe you'll land on something. My thing is, my problem is they're already telegraphing that Jude Law is not who we think he is. And originally I said Jude Law's the bad guy, and it's going to turn out that he's going to turn out to be the bad guy. But then I realized I think he's going to be someone who is a bad guy, but who like the kids make remember he used to be something,
yeah,
and then he will turn good again or something. We're gonna get the classic Star Wars redemption arc from him. And the thing is, so it's funny. Do we have time? Let's talk real quick. Are we good for shifting slightly before we go into rankings and stuff?
real quick, I was gonna show you.
All right, we got it.
Window. All right, there. I just shared an image.
Bye, creep. Do you want me to add it to the screen for you, sir?
Yeah, where you can see.
I got you. Let me.
That is the parasite from the live action series.
There's no way you can zoom in, is there?
Not really. You could
On
trim
your
it.
screen? I'm just curious if you could zoom in on your screen. Because I can't zoom in using dynamic. I have to do
Oh.
something.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure if you can.
Oh, and we're not. Yeah, they can't see it. They just.
Do you want me to put it out with
Yeah,
your
go ahead. So this is what the parasite was in live action.
Right, the one that the doctor from
Yeah.
SB
Which the doctor, half of his body was like that, and the other half looked human. And he's like, "It's not noticeable, is it?"
I had to explain that to my daughter because she's never seen that episode. It was great. Giving an opportunity to be like,
Geordie LaForge, by the way, in that image.
What was that?
That's Geordie LaForge with the parasite.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. I got
So,
it.
anyway, I just wanted to, kind of get that comparison.
No, that's fair, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
So,
How you feeling about jumping back into these rankings?
oh yeah. Let's do.
You ready? You ready to jump into it?
Well, I don't know.
For the next show that we had that we were left off at after all the stuff we've done, which we do still have the list here. I will show you real quick. The list does exist still. I didn't lose it, so the list is there.
He
Got all
lost.
the stuff in it that we've ranked so far. We're gonna keep that. I made sure. Do you know how hard it is? I had to get a tier maker account and everything else, and they're like, "Don't lose the list for the love of God." So I got it. But the one we're going to talk about this week, we're going to start off. There's not many, except this. There's lots of things to say about it. looking at
Yes.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, attorney at law.
Yes. So what are we doing? We are, of course, ranking the MCU series, and it was easier in the beginning than it is now, because now the shows are doing funny stuff. So let me give you my first take on She-Hulk before we get into actual stuff. Um, I liked the first episode. The first episode had promise, showed maybe it was going to be something interesting, and then the second episode was like, and the third episode it tanked out. I finished it because I was early days and I was reviewing stuff and I didn't want to not finish a review. And so, but man, it was a slog toward the end. If you watch my reviews, Mrs. Know It All bails halfway through it. And she's just like, "I'm good. You review it. I'll talk about it later." And then she's on the finale with me when we discuss it. Yeah, it was. There were ups and downs to this. My biggest pet peeve with the show was it didn't. It sold us on a legal dramedy and never legaled. Hardly. There was maybe one case of any kind, and it was Jennifer's. It was She-Hulk's, and then and versus Titania of all people. And then who was like Titania is like maybe the hind end of villains in her rogue gallery. Then once you got past the halfway mark, it spiraled into whatever. It spiraled into a weirdly stream. I felt like it was a stream of consciousness from the writers' room,
Yeah.
and nobody was editing them at all. You had a bunch of feminist writers' rooms who were like, you know what? Forget this legal stuff, because she said in an interview and it killed me. So yeah, I realized I told them on this thing and I don't really know how to write legal drama. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Why are you running the
To
show?
bring in some of the writers from Law and Order.
Anything. Ally McBeal, call them up. Call the guys who used to write that crap. Anything.
Well, where I really think they dropped the ball, and there are some good things to say about this show. I know that everybody wants to go off on the feminist angle, but I mean, honestly, She-Hulk is a naturally feminist character. Which
I agree.
We talked about that a little bit last week.
Here's the problem: the John Byrne run was female empowerment.
Right.
It was done backhanded. It was done in a way that was supposed to be irreverent, thus making it fit the context of its medium.
Right.
So if you're going to be, so it was positive feminism, if you will, and meaning an empowered woman taking her empowered place or whatever.
Right.
The show decided to go feminist victim and go a negative route, and I'm like, this isn't what the comic ever did.
Right, and blame the patriarchy.
Always so feminist about the comic. Why go this route? And the only thing I can think of is, I don't know, these were men who were being conscientious of the kind of character they were writing and for what medium, and they were like, okay, cool, you want to see her in a bikini? Fine. She's going to talk crap about you the whole time.
Right. Now,
this was like, they want to see me in a bikini because men suck. And you're like, what? Why?
Right.
It was just a weird direction to go in for it. In my
now,
opinion.
on the flip side, some of the stuff, like, for example, the look of She-Hulk herself. Holy crap, she looks perfect.
Wonderful. No notes, no complaints.
Right.
Tatiana Maslany's be acting as She-Hulk, I thought was good too.
Yeah. I think they made a mistake, and it was probably a budgetary reason more than anything else, but I think it was a mistake to have her transform back and forth between Jennifer and She-Hulk.
Do you know how expensive the show would have been?
Huh?
Well, my whole thing is they had a body double. Why not have the body double act the thing and then whatever, like superimpose a face or something? I don't know, but I feel like the body double
that's an expensive process.
Well, fully CGI motion capture is an expensive process.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying. I get that it was probably budgetary is why they limited it, but I think that a fully realized She-Hulk, because in the comic books, She-Hulk didn't I mean, she did a little bit at first, but then later on they just said, no, she's just always She-Hulk. And
maybe they would have gotten there for a future season, because I feel like in this, they had her constantly fighting with, no, but that's not who I am because blah, blah, blah. Like they immediately made the She-Hulk of it all something to be upset about, like by Jennifer the character.
Right, which made no sense.
No sense at all, especially because in the comics she was like, wow. Once she was no longer, because they only tried angry She-Hulk for like a few issues in the very, very beginning. Then they realized having her be able to talk and rationalize and reason was much more unique in terms of what it was doing.
Right.
And I think,
And the thing is, then you could explain that the reason that she was, you can get into, like, in the actual lore, why is it She-Hulk maintains her cognitive abilities and has so much better control than Bruce Banner does? Well, in essence, it's because she is a diluted Hulk. She's not pure Hulk like Banner.
sure.
And so it actually makes more sense that way. In that she's just always Hulk, and she's just basically got the strength of the Hulk.
And again, my thing is that I didn't need the commentary to belittle the struggle that they have illustrated that Bruce goes through for all these
Right.
years.
Yeah, that was
That was a
stupid.
big problem I had with that moment. I loved what they were saying. She didn't need to belittle Bruce to do it. And
Right.
the fact that he's only coming from his one frame of reference, and I'm like, you're an attorney, you're smart, and you're enlightened. Why are you being such a dick to him?
Right, and he's your cousin.
Who saved your life regardless of the effect it had.
Right.
Now, mind you, I did think it was silly that Bruce was immediately assuming she was going to be a superhero. My thing would have been like, hey, let's figure out how to get you control of whatever. And then the minute he realizes she's got somewhat control, then you kind of go from there. But she kept ignoring the anger bit because that was always going to play a part, and then eventually it does.
Right.
I did like that.
So I
did
would
not like
I
how
would
we got there, but I
Yeah.
like that.
to tweak this series a little bit, and I don't think the series would take a lot of tweaking to make it good.
Agreed. No,
That's
absolutely
the
agreed.
sad thing, is that they so you start out in a similar vein that, okay, there's the accident, she gets the blood in her,
Right.
she becomes permanently a Hulk-esque character,
Sure.
and then Bruce can even figure it out because he is a scientist, right? Let's play into what he's good at.
Right.
Right.
Agreed.
And that he looks at her blood cells and everything and figures out that, well, the reason that you're having such an easier time than I did with it is because you got it secondhand from me. You're basically the gamma radiation that's in your cells was filtered by my system first.
Not to mention his system that is Professor Hulk.
Right. And yeah, he had already learned to control it.
It wasn't just raw brute Hulk.
Yeah, and he actually did say in the like he said it in Endgame, and they actually went to the lab in this one where he talks about the fact that he had to spend 6 months in a gamma lab to combine Hulk and Banner,
Right.
which means that there is some kind of physiological change that happened.
Agreed. No, agreed. I wonder, but as a result, he also wasn't as strong either, in my opinion.
Well, we didn't really see because
Hulk
unfortunately Hulk,
came from his anger.
if you look at Endgame, Hulk is basically, I mean, he snaps the glove, it burns half his body to nothing, and then he's basically fighting one-handed in the battle. So we don't really get to see the Hulk unload in Endgame.
No, you get to see him running with them in that last scene when Captain America is assembled and everyone freaks
Right,
out.
you see him running, and you
Right.
see him in the background punching a couple of people, but you don't see, like, how tough is this Hulk really? We don't know. We do see, like, in the time travel sequence when they're in New York, and he's just, like, casually throwing a motorcycle around like it's nothing.
Arr.
Yeah,
And you're like-
that was hilarious. And
I
like,
did think it was funny. I did think it was
but yeah, we don't really know how strong. The only way we'd really know is to have him arm wrestle Thor. That would,
That's funny.
because they were pretty evenly matched before. So let's see how they do now. However, getting back to She-Hulk, then I think what they should have done, honestly, is so you have that first court case go pretty much the way it did, where Titania busts in, she saves the jury, blah 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 blah, right?
Right.
So then you have the rest of the season becomes one more court case. She-Hulk versus Titania
Yes.
in court,
Yes.
and Titania's attorney is Matt Murdock.
That was genius. Oh my God! Stop writing better shows.
Yeah. Since they were going to bring in Matt Murdock anyway, Let's bring him in as a lawyer, and then you can have a little subplot where Titania is really planning on killing She-Hulk, and so in the end, She-Hulk and Daredevil work together to beat her.
Right? And he's got to be against his his better judgment or whatever.
Right.
There are a lot of people who have take issue with the Daredevil walk of shame. Funny enough, with everything I've already said, I don't have a problem with that.
That didn't bother me. I
actually kind of thought it was a cute human moment for Daredevil, a character who we have notoriously not seen be very human.
But you see,
Daredevil, not seen be very light ever. He always is very dour and dark, and I get it. Yeah. But you're not in New York. You're in sunny LA, which, by the way, sunny LA is never sunny LA.
Right.
Los Angeles and California are always overcast and rainy. The sunny days are few and far between, and they all film on those days. So, like, it is not that beautiful all the time. But my point is, like, he's not in dark, dour, rainy New York City.
Right.
So I was okay with that.
I would have liked to now, and I will say this, and this is where a lot of people get pissed off at me. I liked the ending. Where she busts out of the Disney menu and goes to the writer's room and all that. The reason I like that is because that is straight out of the comics.
I like everything about that and all the setup stuff and all those pieces also. What I do not like is how we got there and where it takes us.
Right.
It is because this wonderful thing that we should love, very much like The Acolyte, which had wonderful highlight moments, but everything taking us there and everything coming out of it are garbage. And not just garbage, but this was a cheat, so we didn't have to see the resolution.
Right.
That to the whole thing, the creativity and the how good it is compared to the way it's all this comic homage and all the other stuff is lost because it was all used because you didn't know how to finish the story.
Right. That's where like I think that if you look at the comic book, especially when John Byrne was doing it.
Yep.
One of my favorite moments in the comic book was
when she rips and walks across the advertising.
Yeah, when she would say, "How are we going to get into Doom's castle?" And she goes, "No worries at all." Then you turn the page and it's a bunch of ads, and you see her at the bottom of the ads. She goes, "We'll just cut across these advertisements," and then you turn the page and they're in the castle. It was a shortcut to something that they just didn't have time for.
Like, and by the way, in context, that would be the artist wouldn't have time to have drawn all of what was involved.
Right.
I bet you money. John Byrne even wrote a really good scene and was like, "Yeah, there's no way in life I'm drawing this."
Right. We can't fit this in 30 pages.
So we got to just then, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be clever and we're going to break the fourth wall and do this thing, and it's super clever. And ta-da, we're there.
Yeah.
God bless you. That doesn't, mind you, this doesn't change everything for me, but yeah, that makes sense.
So if you had her bust out into the Disney Plus menus and stuff.
Oh, the minute that happened, I loved it.
But I'm just saying, you had her bust out in there, but instead of ending the conflict.
Marvel Assembled, which is a unique way to end up in the studio. She goes to the Marvel Assembled logo and kicks that's why she pops into the studio. And I'm like, oh, that's genius.
That was great, but the problem is that, like you were saying, they rather than finish the story, they just changed it at the last minute. Yeah. What I would have done is basically had some so we're in the last episode of the show, and we find out that Titania is has this, say she has a fortress on the moon or something, and she and Matt Murdock have to figure out how to get to her fortress on the moon. And she was like, no, this is not going to work. And then you have her pop out of the menu, go to the writer's room, slap him around a little bit, and then they move her fortress to downtown LA. So something like that, to where you're not resolving the story through the fourth wall break, you're just expediting it a little bit, which is what they did in the comics.
It makes sense. No, it makes sense. I get you. You're right. It is what they did in the comics. I guess my problem was, in light of all the shortcomings story-wise throughout the other episodes, when you get to this, what should have been brilliant for me, it
Yeah,
felt
you're
like
rolling your
another
eyes.
miss. I was already against it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, as someone who's always willing to admit when I'm wrong. I'm wrong about the ending. The ending's much better based on what you just outlined. You're right. As a comic fan, I shouldn't have a problem with it. I guess I have a problem with the other story stutter steps. For instance, I liked Wong and his involvement. A lot of people don't. I liked Wong's involvement.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought,
and Wong's girlfriend.
oh, I love her. I loved her because my kid. She reminded me of my kid at the time in terms of how my kid talked.
Stacy with an eye.
My kid talked. In fact, when we watched it, I was like, "That's you." I kept pointing at her and telling her, and she was like, "Shut up, it's not me." I was like, "No, that's all day you." Just the way she would like her mannerisms. Then when they show her sitting in her snuggy looking like animal fur thing watching TV with Wong, my daughter has almost that identical one, but it's a dinosaur instead of a bear or whatever.
But and the funny thing is that that's not even all that out of character for Wong. If we look at Wong through the MCU, he's a much more jovial, lighthearted character.
The original Doctor Strange, he's listening to Britney Spears or whatever.
Right.
Like he's like putting his headphones on.
The first time we see, no, he's listening to Beyonce.
That's what it was. That's right.
And so the first time we see him was Doctor Strange trying to get him to crack a smile, and then we find out that when Doctor Strange was making fun of his name being one name like Beyonce, he's actually a Beyonce fan. So that's so Wong. I didn't have a problem with at all. I think Daredevil should have been used primarily as a lawyer and then as a superhero because this is supposed to be a legal show.
Yeah.
And so then you have the first episode pretty much as it was.
Right.
But then you have the center act of this show be about the legal battle between Titania and Jennifer, with Matt Murdock as Titania's representative. And then we get to Titania's evil plot that Jennifer uncovers while trying to beat her in court, and she recruits Matt Murdock to help her out, and they end up going on the adventure.
I loved the Frog Kid, who's a legit character from the comics. The kid who was who bought the boots from the same person Jen buys her costume stuff from.
Yeah.
And I loved that whole thing. Like that whole thing was we enjoyed that. Again, there were many, many elements that we enjoyed. The lack of further legal drama, especially because to me, you had all these wonderful characters in the law firm, and we don't ever get to see them.
Right.
This should have been, honestly, a She-Hulk ensemble show. It should have been a She-Hulk version of The Practice, where if you're going to take the time to get these really great actors around her, use them. But they never did. They were sidebars. So then later on, when Jen hulks out in a bad way, and the one lawyer is sitting here going, "Oh, Jen, don't do it," and being sympathetic, I didn't connect with that moment because I've had zero time with her.
Right.
So it's like I get the pieces were all there, and this goes in very much into what was going on at the time in the MCU. Bob Chapek and Disney was ordering make as much content as fast as possible, and so there was no guardrails on the quality of their creative. So you end up with this show that has wonderful seedlings of ideas, and even has wonderful big moments, but the rest of it doesn't land right. The entire Magician episode felt ham-fisted itself.
Yeah.
Yes, I loved Wong in it, and I love what Wong was doing. And I love when Jen has to fight the little bat demon things.
And I like that the Abomination is now like a Zen master. That was
My problem is you've now sidelined, for the sake of comedy, a really cool Hulk adversary.
Well, I think they should have had it so where he was trying to be a Zen master but failing.
Little by little, you see him getting annoyed all the time.
Yeah.
Until finally, that's this big moment, and you could have even had him starting to freak out and start getting big again, and She-Hulk has to knock him out half human to put him down.
Yeah.
That would have been wonderful. It puts her over the top. it makes him not have some teeth again because right now he's been neutered. And it's like, and now the Abomination is because Abomination is a cool character who has recurred numerous times in the Hulk title.
And by the way, how cool would it have been? Just saying, if they had, and I know it would have taken Disney a dump truck of money, but I think it would have been so cool. You get James Spader and William Shatner to reprise their roles from Boston Legal.
So much, bro. I hate you so much.
And that's the law firm she joins.
Mrs. Know-It-All and I were like, how amazing. Because everybody felt like they were a clone of a character from Boston Legal.
Right.
Now,
well, remember, Boston Legal is an ABC show. ABC is Disney.
To be fair, we had just rewatched, because we rewatched that show at least maybe once every 2 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
We had just rewatched that series, and I love that series. So we went into She-Hulk, and we were right there with you. We were like, can you imagine? This dude was Denny Crane. This guy was this and that. Because you could have someone like Alan Shore, like having the hots for her, making her feel uncomfortable, whatever. You know what I mean? The whole bit. And she's got to finally have like a word with him in Hulk form, and he's kind of like, "Oh, yeah, I really like that," or whatever. I mean, you could play with that.
Yeah.
You could again. That would involve giving all the characters in the law firm much more depth.
And by the way, screw Harrison Ford being the Red Hulk. Make William Shatner the Red Hulk. And he'd be Denny Crane.
Awesome. Oh. So. I didn't like the dude bros going after her. I thought that was such a lame modern plot.
Bro Hulk was lame.
It was a lame modern plot device. I say modern plot device because it's like, oh, we have to show she's cyber bullied, and even though she's strong, this hurts her. And I'm like, here's the thing. I'm glad you want to do all this. Can we at least make a good show first?
Yeah.
Like half
that's the problem.
Could have been in a second season down the road.
This is a classic example of what, and I think one of the few fair criticisms that sometimes comes out of the Phantom Menace crowd is when the messaging takes precedence over the story.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
And that's what happened with this show. I think that this show, I agree with that. If they had focused on the story first, because Jennifer Walters is such a naturally feminist character, you didn't need to do anything to feminize her.
You really didn't.
Yeah.
And they went, instead of going healthy, positive, quote unquote, like, again, I say positive feminism, because positive feminism is I am an empowered woman. Then there's negative feminism, which is, do you know how hard it is for me as a woman? And I'm like, look, bring it down. We understand that those two lives exist. That's like the difference between well-dressed black guy and hood gangster black guy. Right. Like, why is there got to be that disparaging? Why can't it just be show peak characters? Right. Their weight should be incidental, not because of. You know what I mean? Or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I had such an issue with that because everything felt ham-fisted, and the show had so much potential to be really, really great. And instead it was kind of just mediocre.
So where are we going to put this one? All that being said, we got to rank this thing. And the thing is, I think that I would put this one in the C category.
Yeah, I'll go with you there. I'll go there with you. That's fine. Yeah. C category it is. I'm down. She's a C category character for the sake of this.
Because like when we look at shows like the Inhumans and stuff that are just boring.
Yeah.
This show wasn't boring. It was just misguided.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'll go with that. The show was just misguided.
Or Secret Invasion that was offensive. You know.
Secret Invasion sucks. It sucks all the way around. It sucks so bad. It sucks. I can't think of anything positive about it. Not a thing. Not a bloody thing.
I can.
I went into it wanting something that this show was clearly incapable of giving us. I felt like they were like, "Hey, we're gonna borrow from this event that's just as big as Civil War and just as big as Infinity War in the comics, called Secret Invasion." In Secret Invasion, the main characters you know and love, you find out, they were Skrulls all along. Ooh. But then, guess what, guys? We're not going to let you do any of that. maybe that's a lie. We'll throw your roadie. Who cares?
Yeah, one guy.
And a guy that we don't care about. Like, what are you doing? Why is and then
Imagine, like,
all the
you
cool intrigue about what he's doing, him being Nick Fury, didn't care.
want to talk about some impact to the MCU. Imagine if we found out that in Infinity War, Iron Man was a Skrull.
That's what I'm like. That's what happened in the comics.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So that means
they found out the Iron Man that was dead was not their Iron Man,
right?
Which began this whole, well, where is Tony Stark? Where is he? Blah blah blah. And now you got a story.
Right.
You could have easily pulled in. You could have made the whole fourth phase by tracking him down, and he's hiding. But what he's doing is he's working on strengthening things from behind the scenes, very, very Nick Fury-esque.
Right.
You have him, and you could even have him and Nick at one point in the future have a conversation. It could have been in Secret Invasion, where he's like, "Why do you think I disappeared? Because I took a page out of your playbook, which is don't trust anybody." And now Nick and so he's remember how when Ultron first showed up, you find out that quietly Jarvis, without even realizing it, was protecting the nuclear codes.
Right.
You have Tony Stark doing that level of undercover stuff where all kinds of things that we've seen, and he's helping all these positive things happening in Ms. Marvel, in all these shows, She-Hulk, everything. All these shows have one through line. It would have been the equivalent of the first 11 years of the MCU, where there was little nuggets of the bigger story. You drop these little nuggets, and what it turns out the little nuggets is that Tony Stark is alive. And you even have that be the thing that eventually takes us to a movie where he comes back, which is someone finds something that says information, like super secret information people want to die for. And it could have been at the end of Secret Invasion, where on a computer screen it's just blinking, Tony Stark lives.
Well, what? And here's the thing. I want to get a little twisted about it. And just kind of going with more recent news, that's you keep it under wraps, but this is why he plays Doom, because Tony has taken a more authoritarian approach to protecting the world because of how it failed when they didn't do it in Infinity. Remember his whole spiel in Infinity War when he came back and he was like, I said we needed a shield around the world. You said it would impact our precious freedoms. Look where that's gotten us. Now, that motivates him to become Doom. That becomes like... Huh?
I like where you're going with that. Though they've already come out and said, just so you're aware, they've already said, Tony, this iteration of Doom is temporary. And most likely will not last past Secret Wars.
Right. I figured as much. They're probably going to recap. Like, this is going to be a Tony Stark variant from another universe that is like from the classic stories where Doom and Tony swap bodies, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And so there's still a Doom in the 616 universe that we haven't met.
Oh, have you heard this other new tidbit of apparently there's a leak rumor, by the way, and whatever, rumors, spoilers, leaks, whatever you want to call it. Apparently by the way, if you don't want to hear stuff when the spoiler disappears, then you can turn your audio back on, which I'm going to go put out right now. There you go. When the Fantastic Four is from 616, they have ended up, for whatever reason, they'll have to give you reason and story, in this universe, and have made a successful life using this universe's 60s inspired future tech to create another gateway to get home. So they're actually our Fantastic Four trying to come back.
So that I could see that, to where, like, let's say that, throwing my writer's hat on for a second.
Okay.
So You start out in the 1960s, our 1960s. Reed and his crew are trying to develop some super fast rocket technology. It ends up sending them into another universe. In this other universe, because of Reed's incredible genius, he helps advance tech way beyond where it was. We get the retro future styling, and then, but he's ultimately working on a way to control that universe hopping to get back.
I think the Galactus we've seen in the promo stuff that leaked from D23, because he's gonna eventually they're gonna come out with a full blown teaser. And I guarantee you it's just gonna be the teaser that they got in Brazil. But there's a moment where Galactus shows up outside the window demanding Franklin Richards. I have a feeling that's Galactus in that other universe. I don't believe that's Galactus in our universe. The problem is Galactus is a universal constant, which means even though there is one Galactus across all, they are all doing the same thing. Right. So when one does something, the others know the information. So eventually, when we get
you're assuming that's true in the MCU as well as in the comics.
I am assuming that. It could totally be different.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming because here's the other thing you have to remember. This also explains why his Silver Surfer is different. Everyone's been in an uproar. Female Silver Surfer, it's terrible, it's the worst, blah, blah, blah. First off, there is a case for a female Silver Surfer, not the red fired one that was what's-her-face, Shala Bell from his planet, a different character entirely, who also was a Silver Surfer. But it's a different, if it's Galactus from a different universe, he would have a different herald there potentially.
Right, because it could be in this universe, Shala Bell offered herself in sacrifice as opposed to Norrin.
Right. And I believe firmly that's the scenario. So when we do eventually get our Galactus, I think we will get Norrin Rad Silver Surfer eventually. But everyone wants to freak out about stuff because I don't know, clickbait and rage. Who knows? Whatever.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what they're planning with that. I'm just gonna take it as it comes. But as far as I was convinced at the beginning that Galactus was from the other universe.
Sure.
I was just wondering if somehow maybe there's only one Galactus and he hops over to the 616 pursuing the Fantastic Four. So that that's a possibility.
It is a possibility.
Anyway, we need to get back to Secret Invasion because that's what we're actually.
There's nothing to. Okay, sure.
So. My biggest problem, I think, with the show, besides the fact that the Super Skrull is a Fantastic Four specific thing, and this was not it.
The way they even do it is trash.
Right. That was not the frickin' Super Skrull. And by the way, how did they get the DNA of dusted characters like Thanos? How did they get
his dust?
Huh?
Maybe his dust?
Except that the dust disappears after and what is it? They got the DNA of characters that weren't even there.
No, trust me, there's all kinds of holes in this whole thing. Yeah. The fact that they wasted killing Hill is unforgivable.
That was
forgivable.
And how does the funny thing is that this Nick Fury is not the Nick Fury that we see before or after.
No. Well, okay, to be fair on that note, they had to shift the schedule around because of whatever, COVID and reasons and all kinds of things. And the Marvels was supposed to come out before Secret Invasion. But then Secret Invasion. But
there's nothing about the Marvels that would lead you to think that Nick
Fury.
I
meant how because in the Marvels, which comes after Secret Invasion, he's happy, bubbly, up and sword.
Yeah,
and he's normal Nick Fury we've ever known.
But I'm saying, how could that lead into this any more than this lead into it?
At least because he starts coming home because of something serious. So at the very least, he comes home from being that. Now, and what he discovers when he comes home is all the stuff. He finds out about his wife, the whole 9 yards, whatever.
Right, which, I'm sorry, Nick Fury married to a green alien. That was one of the dumbest. Nothing about this fits into the rest of the MCU.
Not at all.
And it was, and the thing is, this should have been Nick Fury's Winter Soldier,
Yes.
And instead,
on some level they tried. But the problem is, if you haven't noticed, the legacy characters are all props.
They're all what?
Props.
Yeah.
Nick Fury was secondary character in his own show.
Yeah.
He didn't matter. You know who mattered? Dude who was the former Skrull leader, the new Skrull revolutionary kid, Game of Thrones, Daenerys, Skrull Daenerys. Like, all these people mattered more. And Nick Fury was just trying to catch up because the one thing we know about his character did not hold true, which is he knows everything.
Right, but apparently in this he knew nothing
the whole time.
And now this one girl,
he's a effing moron.
And now this one girl has the powers of all the Avengers.
Oh, by the way, we haven't seen her again in nine shows and movies. Nothing. No mention.
But she's the most powerful being in the universe.
Not a thing. They don't tell you boo crap, nothing. And I guess what? I don't think we ever will.
Maybe she's living inside Tiamat's head.
Or Kevin Feige's going to be like, we'll see her again when the Fantastic Four come around. The way she should have been originally. The way this idea should have been instituted originally.
What, the super...
Her character in the comics does exist and does have that ability. Have those abilities. It's just not the way that they laid it out here. He has those abilities because she's a superior form of Skrull.
So she's a super...
She was, in the comics, she was body doubling Spider-Woman, with the black hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden she came out because she wanted to not like a big leader. So she didn't want to be on the forefront of everything. She wanted to just be an incidental character. So she's Spider-Woman, who nobody suspected until the very end when she reveals herself and tells Tony Stark and all them, yeah, no, we're blah, 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 we're going.
Oh, and now the government of the United States is xenophobic because reasons.
Oh my God! I'm just like, bro, the show is terrible. I refuse. You have to break into my house if you want to try to do anything else. I've already put it where it belongs. It belongs. I'm not going to put it in unseen, but it's deep.
This show is the reason we need an F tier.
You know what? I agree with you. This just sold me on an F tier. Yeah. Our next one, I will absolutely have an F tier.
Yeah.
You're right. You are 1,000% correct, sir. We gotta have one because I need something that's not unseen and something that's not just D, because it is worse than those other 3 shows, and those 3 other 3 shows were bad.
Yes.
This is worse.
Oh, no, I would dare say Secret Invasion is the worst thing the MCU has produced.
So egregious. Bad.
This is the Star Trek V of the MCU.
Wow. Hold on, man. And then, so then we going right on the heels of all that. We've got another show that came up, which I kind of dug for what it was trying to do, but at the same time felt really ham-fisted. That was Echo.
So Echo, I was really, really mixed on Echo. And the reason why is, I didn't have even though, it felt like she's like a walking checkbox. But that aside,
I love her so much.
The general story was interesting enough. By the way, the Daredevil fight in the first episode was freaking awesome. I wish we had gotten more of that. But then the Kingpin finale was such a cop-out.
Yeah.
It was like, you're waiting for this confrontation between her and Kingpin, and she just, by the way, now she has the power of Native Americans, and
power of Native Americans.
Yeah, the power of many. So now all of a sudden she can use her Native American superpower to subdue Kingpin. And I was like, well, wait a minute. So how is Kingpin going to be a threat?
Right back. I want to show you real fast. We now have an F tier.
What does it say? I can't see it.
Garbage.
Garbage, yes. Hot garbage.
Right beneath D tier, and it's above unseen. It is hot garbage. Okay? That is where Secret Invasion belongs. Forgive me, now we can go back to talking about Echo. I just wanted you to know, I'm like, you know what? We're fixing that.
We're going to fix that.
I got to fix it now. Because Secret Invasion, I cannot allow to live on that tier with other respectable shows that I did not like.
Now, if only you could change it from a solid colored background for hot garbage to a picture of a garbage can on fire. And
Animated gift.
yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, so I did not. The ending was so bad that it drugged the
the
entire show.
ending was the most contrived. Don't get me wrong. I love all of the Native American stuff. I love the festival.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
up until her getting the superpowers, I liked it too.
I thought I overall I just didn't get. Hey, what's up, Dalton? I thought that the show. I didn't understand what it wanted to be because she chasing down. She thinks she's killed Kingpin and therefore is taking over all his stuff, but
Yeah, but why?
and he's alive. And you find out that she shot him in the face, but it missed. It took out his eye, or not his eye, or I don't know. And then she suddenly is. Now we're thrown onto a reservation. We have all of that drama, and I'm like, look, I get it. I do get it, but it felt very. It was all very ham-fisted.
Yes.
You take this wonderful thing that I get what you're trying to do, and then you do it badly. And I don't. And I feel like I want to sit here and go. You realize that hurts what you're trying to do more than if you just took the form and did it right. Like, I'm not even saying change what you're doing, but I didn't. I never understood her motivations. I didn't understand why she hated everybody. I did not understand what her deal was. Why she was angry. She was secretive. She was quiet. She was all. The problem with the character beats is that I do not understand them. And if you're doing them just to show me a complex character, fine. But you told me nothing. You showed me. You showed me a myopic version of her in Hawkeye, who
Right.
apparently got what she wanted, but then now she's searching for more. But now we have to see all this backstory and all this stuff that nobody cared about or asked for. And the thing is, you didn't make it compelling.
You know what I think would have made a more interesting show
What?
would be for this to have been a prequel to Hawkeye, so we could find out why she hates Hawkeye so much.
Right? Well, we find out in the show briefly.
Well, we know Hawkeye was responsible for what her
He was
mother's
running and killed her dad.
or dead, but we could get into that instead of having it done in a quick flashback.
The problem is they weren't even quick flashbacks. I did like, speaking of flashbacks, I did like the fact that one of her first full-blown fights for Kingpin, she ended up facing Daredevil. I like that quick cameo. I like that it was a valid cameo. It looked good. Her being deaf messed with his being whatever he is in a very interesting way that I like.
Yeah, a deaf villain fighting a blind hero,
Which was magnificent.
Yes.
In the extreme. But then they couldn't harness that energy to keep it going.
And it might have actually maybe have been better if it was a Daredevil Born Again prequel, like if it was a lead-in, like so have Daredevil appear a couple of times, and maybe have at the end Daredevil realizes Kingpin's out there and needs to do something about that.
They could pull her in.
Yeah.
They could pull her in. Who knows? We don't know what they're going to do. I think they're trying to reestablish their version of the Netflix universe, Marvel universe.
Yeah, the street level heroes.
Yeah, so they're going to probably steer away from a lot of that stuff. But you could because originally Echo was originally a Daredevil character,
right?
And that was her whole thing in the comics. Was it was supposed to be they were supposed to be trying to create a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil trio of characters. And it just didn't quite land, so they never pursued it further.
Yeah.
Because that was the original intent. It was to be Echo, Daredevil, and another person who were going to be that thing. And it just didn't work.
Which I still think I think they could still try to salvage Echo and do something with that in Daredevil.
Yeah.
Because I do think she would be a natural foil for Daredevil, more so than Hawkeye.
Yeah, I agree.
And but yeah, unfortunately, like I said, the ending is what killed me on this. Is just the fact that she's suddenly, oh yeah, now you can have the superpowers of Native Americans and stop Kingpin?
Well, so they went. They were because I watched the Marvel Assembled or whatever MCU Assembled about
Hmm.
this, which is the making of, and a lot of that came from while they were researching the specific tribe that she's supposed to be part of. Which forgive me, I don't remember right this second. I'm not going to butcher it. Um, they came across this creation myth, and it's about this place of lakes or whatever these where these ponds are, and they're looking into alternate dimensions and other worlds and other. And the idea was here's the spirit realm, here's the this realm, here's the whatever. They revisit this concept in What If when they introduce the Native American character in season 2, and so it's sort of an expansion of this idea.
So in the MCU, Echo is part of the Choctaw Nation because Maya Lopez is Choctaw.
Right, and that's fine. But while they were researching that, they found out this creation myth that the Choctaw have,
Yeah.
and then from there, it's just a matter of really how hardcore of a Buffy fan are you? Because they basically created the Choctaw version of the Slayer, which is every generation.
You see, I think that was completely unnecessary.
100%.
Because
it's too much. It's too much.
Right, you don't need to give her.
Which was already super convoluted and complicated. Now
Right.
you've got Maya and her at home, whatever, and should be your B plot. And now you introduce this whole super radical spiritual element that we now have to digest and understand. While we're digesting all your other plots, there was too many things happening, way too many things.
Yeah.
So now you're right. You get to the end and you're like, I don't get this. What is this?
Right, and the problem is that by giving her these powers, you effectively sabotage her dramatic effect for future shows.
And then, wait for it, she defeats him through the power of love.
Yeah.
Because she takes his anger and frustration about his parents and mother and growing up and all the things that make Kingpin that Netflix told us very clearly and very detailed, and makes him get over. And it pisses him off.
Yeah, but so what are we going to do with Kingpin in
So
the next?
Kingpin is now, because of he's angry. This now is what's leading us to him eventually running for office, because he wants to. Because no superhero should be able to quote unquote mind rape you the way he was, regardless whether it helped him or not. It was part of his character.
But if Kingpin is a nice guy now, why would he?
Because he's angry because she took away his strength, because he hasn't been pansified. He's still the guy that had that stuff. But you know how sometimes when you think about something that makes you angry, this doesn't do that anymore. And now he's angry because of that. Because he's like,
well, so he's still got his anger. He's just got his anger from a different source.
Yeah, but it's the violation that they're trying to make an allegory or illustration of, and it's supposed to lead us to now Kingpin running for office or whatever, to try to control, because that's the whole storyline. In the comics, Kingpin runs for office and bans superheroes from New York. Well, because he says they're more trouble than they're worth, they're unchecked, and he gives it. I guarantee he's going to give his story, because that would be directly from.
I think that the MCU needs to stop getting material from later stage Marvel, because later stage Marvel is when the company was falling apart. They should be pulling stuff from Marvel from the 70s and 80s when they were at their peak. That's just my opinion. However, that being said, to me, Echo is a C. It was a decent show, but then they completely butchered it at the end.
You're gonna go C, huh?
That's where I would go. You can.
Okay. No, it's better than the shows in D. I'm literally just I'm combining them.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it at the level of the D shows, but the B shows are clearly better than it.
That's fair.
So
that's fair. We have recently talked about Agatha, so I don't necessarily know that we need to go deep into Agatha, but at the same time, kind of knowing where it lives, where does Agatha, do you think, live in all of this?
I think Agatha is a solid B.
Really? Okay.
I enjoyed the show, even though there are things I didn't like about the show.
I would make the argument Agatha was an A, which is ultimately why I put WandaVision in B.
So I would. So what do we have in B right now? We have the
Defenders, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now if we go with
I think putting Agatha right there with WandaVision is fair because it feels like a continuation of that story.
okay, that's fair. I don't need to. This isn't a bridge I need to die on because there's other more important stuff that I think I would want to die on.
And I'm sorry, but Jessica Jones and Luke Cage are both clearly better shows.
Oh, I didn't notice Stan Lee showed up. Hey, Stan, yo, yo, yo.
Yeah.
You too, brother. And then, sorry, Delvin said Kingpin gets beat by Daredevil and Spider-Man. It's very true. In the comics, he does. Even though he's supposed to, I don't know if he's a mutant or just a solid ball of muscle.
No, he's just supposed to be a really solid dude.
Yeah, like who's been
He's not super powered.
No, but he is solid. Everyone thinks he's fat. But
No.
he's not. When he takes it off, he's like one big muscle.
Right. But I think, unfortunately, one of the problems at the MCU has this weird power creep problem to where because like Captain America is not supposed to be super strong either. He's just perfect physical health for
I thought he was supposed to be super strong.
No, he is not. He is perfect. Like, Bruce Wayne is near perfection. Captain America is perfection as far as human perfection, but he is not superhuman. Spider-Man is the next level up from Captain America, and Spider-Man is like he can lift a motorcycle, but he's not like
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Spider-Man is much stronger. Spider-Man holds back.
No. I think you're in the MCU. Spider-Man, actually caught, that freaking airport terminal when Captain America knocked it over. That's way beyond Spider-Man's strength.
In real life, in the comics,
well, at least in the classic comics. I can't speak for how he is now.
Comics. That's how he ended up. If you remember, he had like tons of stuff on top of him, and he had to push himself away out of it. They did it with Tom Holland.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is really strong, and then you have Thor and Hulk, which are supposed to be at this whole other level. But honestly, if you look at them pound for pound, do we really see Thor and Hulk doing stuff that's that much tougher than what Spider-Man does?
Right.
They're all, and then Spider-Man and Cap are about the same level. So everybody who's super strong just has infinite strength, apparently. And so there's no clear-cut power scaling in the MCU. That's a problem.
True. No, true.
Kingpin is supposed to be, just a really tough guy. And notice, like I'll give this to them in Hawkeye when Kingpin showed up, and they also talked about this in the Daredevil series back in the day. Is Kingpin wears like body armor integrated into his suits and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And so he augments himself, but he's not super powered.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
All right. So what do we got left?
Just Agatha. That was it. Done.
No. We still have the Guardians. You were supposed to dig up a picture for the Guardians.
No, I don't have. No, I didn't do that. I'm crazy. Guardians of the Galaxy had a Christmas special. I think it's wonderful. It's perennial in our house. We watch it literally every single year.
Yes.
It's
and it canonizes in the MCU Kevin Bacon.
It does. It really does. I'm willing to honestly. Where do you think it lives? I'll tell you where I'm willing to go.
Man, I honestly have. I hate to say this, I really do, because part of me really wants to put an S tier.
I do.
Huh?
I do too.
I mean, because it is just so fun to watch. Does it make all the sense of the world being canon in the MCU? No, mostly it's okay because these are weird characters from outer space. But at the same time, when they're wandering around Los Angeles, does that, it's weird, but man, it's silly fun. Is X-Men 97 part of the MCU? Technically not yet, but a lot of people think it will be after the multiversal stuff is done.
Yeah, even because right now, if you notice right now, Storm's going to be in the new What If, but only as it's part of What If.
Right. However, there's that post-credit scene from the Marvels that gives us Beast from X-Men 97 in live action.
True.
And so, is that truly the X-Men 97 universe, or is it just another universe that happens to have Beast in it? We don't know the answer to that. However, a lot of people are theorizing that that universe is the universe that X-Men 97 takes place in.
Okay, I could kind of see that. That makes some sense.
Yeah.
Here, by the way, I was able to dig up an image, so it is on the S tier for us.
Okay. Yeah, because that show is just so stupid fun.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was ultimately super magnificent in my opinion.
So
if X-Men 97 was on the list, we totally put it on that would probably put it.
yeah, so Esther, we have Daredevil, Punisher, Loki, and the Guardians Holiday Special.
Yeah.
So, which is interesting. 2 Netflix shows, 2 Disney shows.
Yeah, it's not a bad divide. A tier, we have Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, both from Netflix.
Yep.
B tier, we got The Defenders, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Agatha All Along.
Yep.
C, we've got She-Hulk and Echo. D, we've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Inhumans, and Iron Fist. Hot Garbage is reserved exclusively for Secret Invasion.
Yes.
And then neither he and I have not seen sufficiently Agent Carter.
Yep.
But enough of it to give it a ranking, a place on this. Other than that. So, yeah.
And you know what's interesting is it just shows like Netflix misstepped with Iron Fist, but other than that, notice Netflix the lowest thing they had was B tier, and
Agreed.
you know, and really they dominated A and S.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah, man. So I was happy with that. That was a good list, man. That's not too shabby.
So yeah,
I noticed the comments are kind of quiet today.
yeah, you guys not talking much, so we don't know.
Nothing wrong. Hey, man, it's good. If it's Saturday, you guys are busy. I get it. So I just wanted to make sure everyone has an opportunity because it is open mic, and we're on for at least another 40 minutes. So if you guys want to have a conversation, please jump down in the comments. Make sure you're either at Nerd Fighting or one of the other channels that we're currently live streaming from as well, which is either Mr. Nara Reviews, Salty Plus, or my Twitter account.
Yeah.
The Mr. Nara Reviews Twitter account. Or sorry, X account, whatever. Twitter, X, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're it's
Department of Governmental Efficiency account.
yes. Oh my god, it's so funny. I've been dealing with that all week in terms of because I'm on several groups of people who do different things online, and one of the things that they were talking about was, well, should we move? Should we this and that? And I was like, I don't know if you should anything. It is what it is, man. Why are you trying to?
Should they move? Like what? Move out of the country?
No, move to like Blue Sky or some of these other services out there. I don't necessarily. So it's funny. I sit here and I go, look. The last time all this went down, everybody said they were going to do the same thing. The problem we have is I'm gone because I'm like every other social media guy trying to do something, do the show, build a brand. I have accounts everywhere. Blue Sky and Threads have issues all the time.
Right.
Threads, I don't like the way it's formatted. It's just very clunky and ham-fisted. And Blue Sky is trying super hard to become Twitter 1.8.
Well,
it's not Twitter mostly the last version before we got X.
Right.
It's something like because they brought over the CEO, a former CEO of Twitter, to help them work on Blue Sky. They brought him in the end of 2023, and then and he's been making changes and stuff to everything as they go. So they're hardcore trying to turn because Blue Sky is a non-centralized version. So there's servers everywhere, and everyone's got their own little thing. That's why your address is your URL is what it is, because it's your own individual specific address on this server farm or whatever. So everyone has a piece of Blue Sky versus in terms of how it works. It's very strange. But yeah, I don't know. I find myself trying to figure those things out as well.
Well, and you know, it's kind of like people that are always saying, "Oh, you know, you should just abandon YouTube and go to Rumble."
No, I'm good. Sorry.
It's like, I'm sorry, but Rumble is a freaking joke. And don't get me wrong, if you're on Rumble, great. But the truth is that Rumble is an attempt to create uh, a clone of YouTube, but that leans to the political right. And unfortunately, I don't want something that has the express purpose of leaning in a particular direction. Even though YouTube does lean to the left because of Google, I still, I would rather be I would rather be here where everybody is than to be on a platform that is stated to be leaning one way and is just doesn't work consistently and doesn't have the audience.
Agreed.
You know,
I agree with that 100%. I think you said it absolutely correctly.
And YouTube at least tries to be somewhat neutral. The problem that Google runs into, honestly, I think this is why YouTube gets such a bad rap, is since they are the biggest, they're under the most scrutiny. And if they don't curb whatever they consider hate speech, then everybody starts pointing the finger at them and blaming them. But then what ends up being hate speech is subjective. And and so if you have an executive board that's entirely leftist thinking, they're going to tend to think that things that are politically right of center are hate speech. And that's what we've seen.
I'll go to that.
Yeah. But at the same time,
to answer that one question for Stan, how many does X have? They have over 600 million active subscribers. They have on average for the traffic in terms of the number of people the number of active users on the accounts constantly, whatever, is somewhere in the vicinity of, I want to say it's close to, organic monthly traffic is close to 4 billion 4 billion interactions. I don't know how you quantify interactions, but it's 4 billion is what they're calling it. So, and that's as far as June of this year. And that's from Exploding Topics, top social media platform. Exploding Topics is the name of the website. And I mean, take it for what that's worth. I don't know. If you want to see whether or not you think it's a thing or not. Anyways, my whole thing is, we are a spoiled people. We're not jumping ship. I'm mad. Okay, cool. You're going to go over there, and you're going to want to do all the things you were able to do over here, and you're not going to be able to.
And by the way, it's no different than these Hollywood nutcases that keep saying they're going to move out of the country because Trump was elected, and then none of them move out of the country.
Eva Longoria has a home elsewhere, so she's like, "I've left the country." I'm like, "Baby, you live out of the country. You literally have a home in your native whatever country you're from. Don't do that. Don't pretend like you left because of this. Now you may not come back because of that. That's fine. But let's be real. Okay, how many people can just do that?" Then Ryan Reynolds came out with this very polite video that's like, no, you can't come to Canada. We don't even let Canadians in anymore. No, you're done. Stop it. I thought it was
Yeah, I think that, I think that the world will survive Donald Trump 2.0.
Oh, yeah, of course. It already has. Seriously, I don't know, that's just silly, especially the entertainment industry. My thing is this. I went on and I said, I don't care who you vote for. On social media, I was like, I don't care who you vote for. One, just vote. But at the end of the day, are any of you actually listening? Are you sitting here going, I wasn't going to vote Harris, but now because these celebrities told me to, that's why I'm going with my vote. No, nobody's doing that. Nobody did their vote because Oprah said so. Okay,
I wouldn't say nobody, but most people. Anybody that has a brain.
But Hollywood nutcases can travel freely around the world anyway and have enough money to settle anywhere they want. That's right.
But ironically, they all end up in Hollywood.
Which is hilarious to me because Hollywood also has one of the largest homeless camps and tent camps in the world. And you're like, bro, is that where you go? I see the sites. I see the former Chinese Man Theater. I see, the Hollywood Walk. I see the Rodeo Drive, and I see all of the homeless camps. You know what? I get it. They're about to lose Comic-Con to Las Vegas because Comic-Con can't handle the influx anymore.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that. Comic-Con.
That's seriously a conversation happening. Yeah. I don't know if no decision will be made, but they're looking at, because at the end of the day, you could have three Comic-Cons at Vegas at the exact same time, and nobody would miss a beat. You wouldn't have trouble finding food, seating, travel, living, nothing.
They should move Comic-Con to Nashville.
You're just Nashville, like the Nashville Vacation Board or whatever travel committee needs to hire you because you're just hardcore trying to pitch them hard.
No, I'm telling you. Look, I drive Uber around this area. Nashville is built for conventions now, and I mean, there's always conventions in town. It's just usually it's like medical conventions and stuff like that. Like all the low key conventions always end up here. The ones nobody cares about but are actually really important. Like the International Society of Dentists or whatever. They all show up here in Nashville. But and the funny thing is, Ben, yeah, Nashville was built on country music, but it's not just country music anymore.
So just so you're aware, last year alone, New York Comic Con, not even San Diego, just New York, had 200,000 people descend. And so I don't know if Nashville is equipped for 200,000 people to come and stay in a teeny tiny area. It's growing and probably can handle big conventions like 2,000 people. But that's the issue that they're having.
I think you could do way more than 2,000.
That's the issue. No, but you can't do many of them. How many can you do at that size? The thing is, that's the problem San Diego's having is everybody's like these hotels. Everybody does this like, oh, it's seasonal, it's Comic-Con, we're going to raise the prices, we're going to raise this and that. This price gouging happens. There's no rooms. There's just not enough rooms within an hour's distance after a certain point. Whereas you could literally up to the day of still probably get a room in Vegas near wherever they're going to be. And at any given time, they have millions of people who are having different conventions going on at the same time there in Vegas. Vegas is just ideally set up to do this kind of thing. It's one of the reasons why NAB and all these major tech conventions happen there is because Hollywood or Las Vegas doesn't do it. It's just like, oh, you guys are all coming? Cool. Come on down. We'll have the American Magicians Association, including as well as all of the cell phone companies, as well as. It's like, come on. So yeah.
Trying to see.
That would be called CountryCon.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Sure, just be. Let's see. Music City Center can hold 34,000.
You joke, creep. The answer would be Japan, where Neo Geo has been running its annual convention for the old video games like Mr. Fury and several other different video game franchises back in the day for decades. And apparently, it is a huge convention. So thank you, Circle Time.
But you see, and I think the MC for NeoCon should be Keanu Reeves.
Oh my God, it's great. That's awesome. He's like, welcome everyone to NeoCon.
Whoa.
It's awesome. Whoa. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Anyways, yeah, man, that was the week. That was the show. That was what we did. I'm trying to think what's coming up. I know there's some things starting. I have to start watching Silo. Silo season 2 drops. That's just a personal thing that we watch.
I've only seen the first couple of episodes of season 1. It was interesting, but I just haven't gotten around to watching the rest of it.
It was Fallout before Fallout in terms of the show-wise. It's basically these people who, because after a major whatever, they live underground in the shelter.
Right. But they all believe you die if you go outside.
Yeah, and not just that, they show you a video.
Right.
So this one lady discovers that the video feed is fake and that everything outside does not look like we see it. And so she insists on leaving. And so everyone sees this video of her go out, and then she gets close to the hill, and then she dies.
Right.
But clearly she's walking around still, and we don't know. So someone's showing something somewhere that's not happening. And so it's all about, the thing is, Silo lives mostly in the silo. It's not about what's outside.
Right. So it's like the mystery box of why are they hiding the truth?
It's very Lost, very, that era of that kind of thing. And I'm down for it. It's wonderful. It's done very well. So, yeah.
Yeah, until you find out the real reason was because, the patriarchy.
Random.
That's what it's going to be. It's going to be the white male oppressors.
Oh well, no, there's a white male oppressor now, and what's his face is in the show. He leads the whole thing, and he comes down every now and again.
So are games and computers be more expensive now with Trump's tariffs?
I don't know if you can get more expensive than just what games have been lately.
Well,
you're not even getting a game anymore. How about this? Before we worry about that, why don't you guys go beat up the manufacturers to get them to actually make and finish fulfill the games they're supposed to be making?
You don't even play games. What do you know?
I don't, but I listen to all of it.
Yeah.
I listen to everybody complain about, I paid this much 2 years ago and my game.
That's why, you know what? I have not bought a AAA game in a few years. And I probably won't for, like I'll buy an indie game or I will get like these free-to-play games. Some of them are really good.
I have every intention of buying a PlayStation 5 for one reason and one reason only. There is a game coming out called Lunar Silver Star Story Reboot. And it is the only RPG game that I loved on Sega. Later on, they came out with another version for PlayStation, which was a remastered version, which was called Silver Star Story Complete, and it was amazing. And when I found out they were coming out in 2026, it's coming out, the PlayStation, I'm like, I'm there. I'm buying this because that's an amazing game. Now, that being said, the last game system where I had played anything was the Dreamcast. I was like, oh, this is the future. I got it opening day, paid like 100 and some odd bucks or whatever. It was like amazing. I blinked and it was gone. And I'm like, you know what? Clearly, I'm the guy who bet on Betamax versus VHS. I'm the guy who bet on Laserdisc versus DVD. I'm the guy who bet on HD DVD over Blu-ray. As far as I'm concerned, I don't do this nonsense right. I'm going to go back to regular life and not move on and not worry about these things.
So whatever Mr. Know-It-All says.
When it comes to video games,
yeah,
not so much. So, anyways, I'm not. So, but I am going to get it for that one game. And actually, I think Boyfriend Know-It-All wants to play the new GTA.
Yeah, I have not priced computer components in recent years, mainly because I don't have the money for it anyway. But honestly, with computer stuff, it's I don't think that the tariffs are going to affect computer components as much as larger durable goods, from my understanding. Like if you look at Trump's prior tariffs, he put like tariffs on imported aluminum. So is that going to affect buying a graphics card? Well, only in that the aluminum in the graphics card is 10% more expensive.
I'll go with that.
And if the aluminum in a graphics card is 10% more expensive on a $500 card, that'll probably make a difference of 50 cents.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be this huge price jump.
It's not going to be what everyone thinks it is.
Yeah. And when it comes to...
It's not making movies bigger. How about that?
And when it comes to games...
expensive.
Games have skyrocketed in price for no reason other than that the game companies figure they can soak you to death.
Well, not to mention the fact they're like, you're willing to pay this much. The problem is game companies make more money than movie studios have ever made hand over fist, and they're still going out of business because they just didn't like. Why did you have to continue spending to develop? What do you do?
And there's a couple of problems in that, like you have the developers, they put out games that are incomplete, that constantly need teams of programmers to try and repair, but then they realize that, oh shoot, we've already sold the game and we still need to spend millions of dollars to fix the game, so we better sell you on buying a new purple cloak, in order.
And then not just that. Then it was like, we'll give you the update as DLC, downloadable content.
Right.
Let me get this right. So you sell me a broken game, and then you sell me the fix. Oh yeah, it's terrible. Real quick, Creep says the porn industry bet on HD DVD, and they usually control the market. So it's surprised a lot of people that Blu-ray won. So let me respond to that. The reason Blu-ray won has very little to do with any of the other nonsense. Though I do appreciate that angle. Most advancements when it comes to things like live streaming, you're watching this show because of the porn industry. Because most of the technology was developed because porn industry was the first people to pioneer a lot of nonsense because they're going to try anything. When you get into things like DVD versus HD DVD versus Blu-ray, the reason is very simple. Disney went with Blu-ray. As goes Disney, so goes the market.
Well, not just Disney, but also keep in mind that when the Blu-ray HD DVD wars were really going full swing, Sony incorporated the Blu-ray into the PlayStation 2. Whereas the Xbox, the HD DVD was a purchased add-on.
At the time when it came out, you have to understand, Blu-ray and HD DVD and all that stuff, we were still very much in a physical media world. Streaming was not what it is. Streaming was barely for promotion stuff at the time. So what happened? So when Disney was the largest distributor of physical media at the time, when they said we are making the shift out of standard DVD and going to Blu-ray, the entire industry was like, "Well, that's it. Everybody switch to Blu-ray because there's no reason it'll never be HD DVD can't keep up. There's no way it can have enough market share to compete with Disney's level of volume at the time." Now, I think it's a very different conversation these days, but yeah, like that. Once that happened, anyone will tell you that's when that marked the end of HD DVD because why would you do anything else? Nobody was making enough material for it to matter. Versus Disney, who at the time was not only Disney, it was Touchstone or whoever, all the other companies that they had who Disney distribution was also putting out.
Right.
And they were everything switched and standardized. That's what that was.
I think Sony just played very well. They were very smart with their deployment of Blu-ray.
So you always do this while I'm streaming, right? Hi everybody, it's my daughter, baby know-it-all. No, you're good. I think your mom's in the next room though. You can talk to her. Oh, baby, love you.
Yeah.
I usually do that because she did it last week too, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
And Creep, you're right. The beta was better than VHS, but VHS was cheaper. And but again, I do understand. Like a lot of people make the argument about the porn industry went VHS primarily, and that's true. But the porn industry was actually against high definition. Period. Because and it's kind of funny.
It required them retooling all their cameras, everything. Because at that time, don't forget,
not just that, but
they weren't doing this. It wasn't OnlyFans like it is today.
Right.
Back then, everything was produced. So there was cameras and gear and things.
But here's the funny thing is I saw this interview with I can't remember who, but some CEO of some big porn studio. And he was like, the honest truth was the reason that they were resisting and they were trying to stick to VHS when the newer formats were coming out is that there are certain parts of the human body you don't need to see in high definition.
Yay! Good night, everybody. That's the show. I feel like that's the end of the show. That's the moment the show ended, right there. So if you're time coding, right then, it's over.
So if you want to see Mr. Know-It-All in all his glorious high definition, you can check out his OnlyFans page.
By the way, that's not true. Every episode of the Mr. Know-It-All show is done in 4K. So please.
Yeah, so 4K, so
all reviews, you'll get to see.
So is your OnlyFans page in 4K?
No, sir, I apologize. I do not have an OnlyFans page. Why? Because none of you can afford to see this greatness. This hotness, not for you.
Yeah, it's actually true. It's kind of like if he took his shirt off, everybody in the audience would just collapse and die. You remember that scene of the witches when